Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wake Up and Dream, the amazing podcast that I host here with Lisa and Kelly. So excited to have you here. Today, we are going to be speaking about something that I feel like I always understood the meaning of this word, but not how it relates to my goals and the things that I'm trying to achieve. So, learning more about this kind of was a shift from my original definition of this word. So I want to talk about the role of responsibility in achieving your goals. So I feel like some of the things I'm going to say are pretty harsh just because I feel that a lot of times when we are going after our goals, we have excuses and reasons why we are not able to get there. Whether they be circumstances, people, jobs, all of these things, we say, we can't achieve this goal because, and whatever follows that because, we are placing blame on that circumstance, person, all the things. But I'm here to tell you today that you are responsible for your goal. Nobody else is responsible. You're responsible for your goal and all that goes along with that. So you need to take action. You can't wait for someone else or a circumstance to be perfect before you take action. And I know that we always talk about like being and you have to be that person with the goal achieved, and that still holds true. But without action, you're not going to get to that goal. And I find that a lot of times we negotiate with ourselves, we make excuses and things like that, like, oh well, I don't really feel like doing this, or I don't have enough information yet. I feel like that's like a thing that I do. It's like, I just need to learn a little bit more before I take action. You're never going to feel ready. And it's your responsibility to take action anyway and to just do it anyway. So, and if you think about the goals that you're going after, I know that, Kelly and Lisa and I have encouraged you to dream big, to take these big, big goals, these scary goals. Like, if it's something that you've never done before, you're not really going to feel ready no matter what. So it's your responsibility, even knowing that information, that you're going to take these scary action steps, and you're not always going to feel ready, but it's your responsibility to move forward anyway. I want to reference through this conversation an article by Bob Proctor that is it's been instrumental in my growth and my understanding of my responsibility in achieving my goals. And we're going to share this in the Facebook group. So all of you will get a copy of it as well. Make sure, if you're not in our Facebook group already, to hop over there so you can get this. But I am going to reference a few of these things that he mentions in his article, because I feel like they're so key in talking about this topic. So to start, responsibility, Bob Proctor, in the very first line in this article, responsibility is a choice and it is the key to freedom. So we get to choose. We get to choose responsibility. We have the power to change our results. So if we are going after a goal, and historically we've been getting to this one result, and now we have this goal we're going after. Our current result, that's based on our responsibility. We're responsible for that result because of the things that we're doing, how we're showing up, the actions we're taking. We are responsible for where we are currently. We also have the power to choose how to show up to reach that goal. So responsibility kind of goes both ways. It goes to where your results are now and where you want to go. It's your responsibility to make that choice. You get to choose on which path you want to pursue. It's the same thing. It's just a matter of you're choosing either doing one thing or doing another thing. You're choosing action or you're choosing inaction. With that responsibility, you are the only person responsible for your life. So I mentioned this a little bit ago, like, you can't blame others. So for example, I really wanted to change my job. I needed a change. I can't blame my current job. I can't blame my current boss for the feelings that I was feeling, and like me wanting to change my job. Like, oh, I'm not changing yet because we have this project due, or I feel like I have to take a pay cut. I'd be letting my family down. I'm placing blame in other areas of my life, and I'm not assuming responsibility for the result that I want. I want a new job. I have to go after that new job. End of story. It's my responsibility. So blaming past experiences, blaming parents, blaming your spouse, all of these types of things we are in essence, we are passing responsibility along to those other people or circumstances. And that's not how this works. If you want to get after that goal, you need to own it. You need to take responsibility for yourself. And it is what it is. I see Lisa and Kelly kind of nodding in agreement, but I also feel like I'm being like super harsh. Like I'm being like, it's like we're going to be playing like good cop, bad cop today. So you guys might swoop in with some like, trying to smooth over my harshness. But really, this topic is a pretty important one, and one that can come across as being like, real. This is real. Like if you want to make this happen, you have to do it. End of story. So the last point out of this article, and I do want to read one section of the article just because I feel like it's so powerful. But it takes courage to accept responsibility for your life. There's no one else to blame. It's scary, but once you choose, because this is a choice, once you choose to take responsibility on whether or not you're going to achieve this goal, and you start taking actions toward that, like that, that's a scary thing to actually admit and to move forward with. So it takes a lot of courage to accept responsibility for your life. One of the things, this is actually not what I was going to read, but one of the things in this article that I also think is worth pointing out as it relates to this point is you are responsible for all the results in your life. You're responsible for your happiness. You're responsible for your health. You're responsible for your wealth. You are responsible for your emotional state. So I really think that like section sums up a little bit about what, regardless of what state you're in now, it's your responsibility to either stay there or to change it. It's your responsibility to make that decision and then to move forward. I want to end with a quote that's within here because I feel like it, again, I feel like I'm being repetitive intentionally on this because it's such a critical conversation and point to raise. But I think that this is really a good quote to end with. So again, this is the Bob Proctor responsibility article. He quotes Val Vanderwall in this article. And Val Vanderwall wrote, when a person takes responsibility for their life and the results they are obtaining, they will cease to blame others as the cause of their results. Since you cannot change other people, blame is inappropriate. Blaming others causes a person to remain bound in a prison of their own making. When you take responsibility, blame is eliminated and you are free to grow. And that quote, I mean, I feel like that sums up everything really with regards to responsibility. The results you're getting now are a result of how you are treating this right now, right? So when a person takes responsibility, the results they are obtaining, they'll cease to blame others as the cause of their results. Your results that you have now are because of the actions or inactions you're taking. It's the result of you taking responsibility or not taking responsibility for your actions and your goals. So a lot of times, and it's very common for us to blame other people in those cases. You cannot control other people. So you can only control yourself. All of the responsibility on whether or not you achieve something is you and you alone. That's it. So I'm going to pause here. I know this was kind of a quick run through, but we will share this article. Our coach, Julie Ciardi, she worked very closely with Bob Proctor, and she always recommended to read this article if you're struggling, taking action and showing up as that person and owning and taking responsibility for your goal, to read this article every single day. It's a short article, a couple of pages. Reading this article every single day for 30 days straight. And the change that happens by doing this, by accepting responsibility and making a change in that way, it actually is really, really powerful. So we'll include the article for you, and we'll actually save it to the guides as well for reference. So just be sure to check that out. And I want to toss this over now to Lisa and Kelly. I want to see, I know you guys were nodding in agreement in some cases. So I just want to see if this was a good reminder for you. I know we've done this work, and what came up for you guys as I was speaking through all of this.
Well, Sarah, crack the whip this episode, man.
Like, I know I'm harsh, right?
You could feel the intensity of your passion for people not settling. I mean, that's really what you're saying. Like, settling is shifting all of the responsibility on your circumstances, other people, and playing the victim. I mean, that's really what I took away from it, is when we don't take responsibility, we put ourselves in the victim. Like, oh, this is what my life is because this is the hand I got dealt, or, there's no way I could get out of this job. This job's paying my bills, and, it'd be irresponsible to, all of those talk are victim talk. Like, you become the powerless one that has no ability to change, or no ability to change your circumstances. And I'm living proof. Like, you can change, and you can do hard things, but you got to know what you want, right? So you got to know what you want. And sometimes I think we're not even consciously aware that we're in misery. Does that make sense? Like, we're just so used to status quo that we really haven't consciously allowed ourselves to go, like, I don't really want to be in this job, or I don't really want to live in this town, state, what have you.
Can I say what Kelly is thinking relating to this point? Because I know it. It is what it is, right? That's placing blame outside of it. You're placing the circumstance.
Mhm.
It is what it is. I feel like Kelly is thinking that as you're speaking, because I know I am. But that's placing blame
100%.
outside
Yep.
of you, right?
Yep.
I didn't mean
It
to
does
cut you
come
off,
into play.
Lisa,
But isn't that true? And Kelly, you're living proof right now in your situation. Like, you're making big, bold, scary decisions, but you're taking responsibility. Like, you're taking responsibility for your happiness, for the well-being of your family, for so many things, for opportunities that are not even, present right now. You're taking responsibility with faith that this is what you want, and this is the direction that you're going in. But I think so many, and I'm guilty of it too, so many of us play the victim, and we just go, well, it is what it is. We just got to make the most of it, right? And
and I
that,
think, like,
go
so I
ahead.
was just going to add to that. Like, and I think that if we don't understand this concept of responsibility and like how playing the victim really can harm our path forward and our like trajectory, like we won't see the possibility for change. We keep ourselves stuck because we're not owning up that we have the ability to change. So if we take responsibility, knowing that we can change this path, we see a whole different world of possibility just by making that decision to own up to the responsibility.
Yeah, I think I remember too, even back during like infertility and going through that process of what's next and doctor's appointments and just all the big financial and emotional decisions that went through with that. Like, then it was the burden of the depression and anxiety that I thought this is what it is. Like, this is what a family goes through, and this is just how it goes. However, I woke up, one day and was like, this can't be it. I am not going to choose this anymore. I'm not going to choose to wake up. I'm going to take responsibility and not feel yucky about myself every day and not be fully present for my son and my husband. Like, that's just not fair. That's not who I am. And I feel like people can, if you're listening, like, you feel it. If you're not in the right job, if you're not in the right marriage, if you're not being that mom that you've always wanted to be and to reach your full potential, what you really want to be doing right now. And so I love when, Sara, you said, even if you're not taking action, that's a choice. You're choosing to not take action. So I don't know which is more difficult, actually like taking the action and like taking the responsibility to move forward, to take one more close step to your, health and wellness goals, until, encouraging your friend through her, hardships at work. Like, you're taking the steps and you're taking that choice to either take action or not take action. Like, you're still choosing. And that's where I think it's honestly just amazing to be here. Like, you have a choice on how you show up for you and those around you. Like, I think I had a session one time with my intuition coach, Lauren Wingate, and she was like, you can choose how you show up in any situation, whether it's a holiday with the in-laws, whether it's, like parent night again with the soccer team with the kiddos that, you just don't gel with the moms, or, maybe it's that, the coworker that you just, gosh, you have to sit next to at the Monday morning meeting, and it just drives you crazy. Yeah, you can walk into that meeting feeling absolutely like that. Like, this stinks. I don't want to be here. Mondays are the worst. Or you can take responsibility, figure out how to show up for yourself and not show up for her or that person or how they're expecting you to be. You can either love your life or choose not to. Either way, you're choosing left or right. You get to decide.
Wow, wow, wow. I feel like I have to like listen to your little paragraphs like again, Kelly, because I was like, oh, these are so golden. They're so golden. And don't you think, so many of our habits go back to how we were raised, how we were conditioned. I was just listening to a podcast about how even in like churches and different denominations and circles, there are certain unspoken rules of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And sometimes, we women feel like we don't have a voice. That we're, whether you're in corporate and you are in a sea of men in the corporate America, or you're in, a religious circle and the men have that certain authority. Well, like I guess my point is how we're influenced through the years. I think even as we grew up, we think that that's just right. We think that that's normal. We think that that's just our place. And what I guess want to bring to the table is, like, ultimately God made each of us with a purpose and a passion. And we're responsible to, when we get to the end of our life, we're responsible for our life, not anybody else's, right? And I think sometimes I have played like the lazy card, where I'm just like, oh, I'll just do whatever, the norm says, or I'll just fit in over here. And that's not really being responsible, right? That's shifting my responsibility to someone else and putting a lot of trust that they know where they're going, kind of thing. So I don't know if that resonates with any of our listeners, but I just think, how we were raised plays a big factor. And so that awareness piece, I wonder why I don't feel like I can speak up at the work meeting, or I wonder why I feel like I'm not really able to have a choice. Well, you do. You have a choice. It's just that there's a lot of beliefs and a lot of things to work through for you to own that this is my truth. I'm the only one responsible for my happiness.
Yes, and it's so required for the growth to work through the things, because whether you're in your 20s, whether you're in your 60s and listening, life has happened to you. You've made choices, some, good, some bad. You've learned lessons, but you are who you are now, right now, today. And it's time, I'm going to lay down the law like Sara did. It's time to stop blaming others or circumstances or situations. This is your life. It is time to show up, make good choices for you, and take that responsibility moving forward and take that scary action. Like, all three of us have done the work, but all three of our stories and our journeys are different. All of us took action in different ways. Some of us journal, some of us meditate, some of us have hired other coaches to help us walk us through the transition. Some of us have, that one-on-one best buddies. Some of us, you guys, you have to find what works for you, but you have to start working towards whatever that desire is. Getting quiet to figuring out how your life can look different in the next 30 days, how your life can look different in the next 5 years. Do it for you. Be that shining light. Take the responsibility now to make it happen. So this episode has been absolutely amazing. I love Sara and Lisa. This is so fun to just take what we've learned from our journey, share it with each other. And it's so fun because whoever shares in the beginning, the other two are always learning as well. And so your journey keeps going. And that's the fun part of life. So again, you're taking action either way, whether you're doing it positively or negatively, and you're making that choice. So again, quick reminder, if you want to tap in more to what the three of us are coaching and teaching on, join us in our Facebook group, Wake Up and Dream. We will have all the info, all the links in our show notes, and we hope to see you there. Until then, wake up and dream.